My name is Ken Lagana. I'm the CRO at media.net. And for those of you that don't know us, and I'm going to introduce again my panelists again here in a second. For those of you that don't know who media.net is, we are an omni-channel SSP with a very unique value proposition in that we layer in search signals across our supply. We're the only ones in the marketplace that do that. So that's us really quickly. But our North Star has really changed pretty dramatically over the last, I'd call it year and a half. And that's a reflection of how marketers and agencies North Star have also changed pretty dramatically. Our directive from our clients, although they love the search signals and the performance that it drives, is how do we drive better outcomes, Ken? I constantly hear that. And so that's really where we started to lean into pretty hard over the last, call it 6 to 8 months. But anybody that knows anything about the programmatic space knows that that's a challenge because the SSPs don't get the type of signals directly into the supply path that an outcome-driven environment really takes, which is why we developed a product with our friends here at Claritas, Heather, who we'll talk to in a minute here, called Elevate. And really what Elevate does for the first time is we're able to garner signals from everything from form fills to app downloads, all the major components of what you need to really be able to drive and traffic shape inventory to optimize based on real results. This is a monumental change in the marketplace, and it's really a game changer for not only advertisers, for clients, for publishers, as well as consumers. So we're really excited, really bullish about our new product, Elevate. So now that we've sort of set the table for the conversation, I want to pull in my amazing panelists. We have Joey Almonte right here, sitting next to me, who is the VP of Media Transformation and AdTech from Citi, and Heather, who by the way just won a big Synopsis Women in Media Award, I think. Can I get you? So congratulations to Heather on that. But Heather, why don't you sort of take the wheel here and kick us off and talk a little bit about who you are and what Claritas does and what you guys are bringing to the table and really how you're powering this partnership with media.net.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm Heather Roestamadji with Claritas. I'm the Senior Director of Growth Strategy there. At Claritas, we focus on helping brands, agencies, marketing teams, publishers prove the impact of their campaigns. We can do this in all different types of conversion environments. We've worked across Fortune 500 companies, all the major podcast publishers, all the major, even like Google Ads Manager, all the major publishers and different ad platforms, including SSPs and DSPs as well. So what we specialize in as far as capturing the true impact of the campaign, this is all powered by our identity graph, our owned and operated identity graph, where we can tie exposures and conversions that are happening across devices, so you're not reliant on the last click, which is really only a subset of capturing influence for a campaign.
That's amazing. So, no longer are we reliant on proxies. We're able to now get the type of information that we need to target down to the URL level, which is truly a first to market and really unique value proposition. So thank you for nailing that. And Joey, let me bring you in here to talk from the advertiser side of the ecosystem. Brands are under tremendous pressure to prove out performance, every single day. Every dollar has to work hard. And so I guess, but what we see in the marketplace is this accountability gap, for lack of a better term. And so I guess when thinking about that accountability gap, why do traditional metrics like, clicks, impressions, video completion rates, Why do they fall short? And as a fast follow-up to that, what do outcome-based measures really add to the marketing mix?
So impressions and clicks were great when we introduced advertisers to programmatic. It gave them some comfort with this channel, but ultimately they don't really tell a story about outcomes for the business. And when we're speaking to our leadership team, they really want to know what's driving revenue. And those are things like credit card signups, opening new checking or savings accounts. So we've really been challenged at Citi to make sure we can tie that back, tie programmatic back to those outcomes. So we look at things like acquisitions, conversion rate, app start rate, app completion rates, and that really is our North Star to know what's driving performance. That really gives us a good understanding of which channels we should be investing in and where we should be moving out of.
Cool. Thank you for that. And Heather, just from your seat at Claritas, how are you guys helping brands evolve past just those very basic metrics and really think about incrementality and true outcomes rather than just proxies that the marketplace has really relied on today?
Yeah, there's a couple of different conversations that we have as far as educating the market. One of the conversations I have often is, stop relying on UTM trackers and coupon codes because they're only one part of the picture. They're not capturing the campaign's true impact. And the other thing that I often guide marketers on is, basic pixel placement from an attribution perspective. You can look at way more than page views with, simple tools like Google Tag Manager. We can attach our tags to any action on the website to really give you deep insight into who's clicking open account, not just who's going to citi.com.
That's huge and obviously incredibly valuable. In the marketplace where outcomes are everything, I mean, that's critical. So, Joey, when we talk about supply side optimization, in your mind, tell me a little bit about why does it matter that you have the ability to optimize at the SSP level, and how can things like traffic shaping really surface undervalued supply? Because, I'll let you answer it and we can have a little talk about that.
Thank you. So traditional bid filtering methods, they really prioritize premium publishers, which are great, right? We all want exposure on those top sites. But the issue is, just as an example, it's fantasy football season. I'm having an awful season, so I'm always looking for an edge.
Too many Giants players on that team, I guess.
Yeah, can't rely on Wan'Dale Robinson anymore. But so I'm always looking for an edge, right? So I might be reading an article on ESPN, but I might also be looking at an article on an independent sports blog, right? And I'm still that high-value customer on both of these sites. So traffic shaping at the supply level really lets us tap into those undervalued placements, and then we can still filter out those bad actors. So we're moving away from made-for-advertising sites and things like that. As cookies continue to disappear in the marketplace, the contextual analysis tool that really allows us to scan a web page and make sure we're hitting the right audience in the right places is really powerful.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. And Heather, we talked about undervalued supply and cookieless environments a little bit, and Joey, I appreciate you bringing that up because that is really important stuff. Heather, how does Elevate, the new launch that we announced together last week, how does Elevate play into unlocking those sort of harder to measure channels, whether it's either small publishers on the open web or environments where signals may be really limited?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that we're conquering this issue. First of all, with cookieless environments, Claritas is not dependent on cookies because of our identity graph. It's a multinodal identity graph, so we are not relying on only one piece of data to collect information from the exposure and conversion side. And so that's one way, like with our partnership,
that's huge.
You're able to see at a very granular level whether they have cookies or not, what channels are performing, and which ones you can optimize more so. So the level of granularity of impression data that we can give you even into those harder to measure platforms is what's really helping you optimize within your campaigns.
That's awesome. Thank you. So that all makes sense. And if we take it one step further, how do you guys see advertisers closing the loop so outcomes can really directly inform supply decisioning in real time? And Joey, I'll sort of kick that one to you first.
Yeah, so it takes a couple things. You really need the right tools in place in your ad tech stack. You need some type of infrastructure that'll allow you to commingle first-party data in a privacy-safe way. You need to be able to analyze that data quickly and act on it even quicker. But aside from that, and probably bigger than that, honestly, is collaboration. So we need all the players in the space to really buy into this. So that's advertisers, that's publishers, and that's platforms. But if we are able to get everyone to buy in and outcomes feed directly into the supply decision, we're going to see stronger performance for advertisers, which means more money for the business, revenue, right? That's what leadership cares about. And then we'd have more money to allocate to certain publishers that are performing really well. And honestly, AI is just going to make everything a lot quicker. We're going to be able to optimize the supply in faster time than any human can.
So it's rising tides in this situation clearly are going to lift all boats if people start to lean in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody wins in this situation.
I would agree. Joey, while I have you, and can you talk a little bit how this outcome-driven approach sort of translates omni-channel? So that would be, across CTV, across audio, across, obviously mobile, even digital out of home. How do you think about that?
So all of these channels, they play a really important part in full funnel campaigns, but we often struggle to tie those back to those outcomes that I had mentioned earlier, right? Like an acquisition, somebody signing up for a credit card. And Ryan over there, our programmatic lead, he knows how much we value multi-touch attribution and have to tie everything back to that. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's been really tough to do that historically, especially with CTV and audio, but we do know the importance of that. And when budgets tighten, those are often the first to get cut. But if we can tie back outcomes to those channels, make it closer to a channel with instant gratification like a search, then we can really close that gap. We can protect those budgets and even make a case to expand those budgets. And that's a real game changer for full funnel campaigns.
So for all those, media sellers out there, protecting the budget, I don't know if you heard that, but I think that's pretty critical. So finally, if we want to sort of zoom out, what's the industry impact if advertisers, agencies, and publishers all really align on outcome-based measurement? And look, I think you sort of answered that, but any further thoughts there?
I mean, we spend most of the time on the open web, right? So again, if we can close that gap, if we can make everything measurable, if we can optimize inventory at the supply level, then everybody's going to eat. Everybody's going to see more budgets. We're all going to see a return on investment that we can actually prove. And we create a transparent and performance-driven ecosystem.
Cool. Heather, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think aligning and I make it my own personal mission to advocate for third-party omni-channel measurement. I know a lot of platforms, especially connected TV platforms, offer you attribution for free. It's just part of placing your ads in that platform, but that's really only one part of the picture, and it's going to be looking like inflated results because they're not taking into account the performance and the influence of all the other ads, all the other channels. And so for mediums like podcast or even display, it's really important for you to consider measuring all in the same platform, using the same methodology, and everyone aligning on that being the best practice to do, so that you can really get a good assessment of the impact of all your ads across all channels, not just what that specific partner is telling you from a performance perspective.
And that's vital. I mean, we hear that all the time from clients like Joey to others in this room, where that apples to apples comparison is just absolutely critical for everybody to succeed. So. Listen, we can open it up to a couple of questions here, but that's, we wanted to make sure that everybody got a really solid understanding and perspective of what Elevate is bringing to the marketplace in partnership with our friends at Claritas. Again, we are the only SSP platform to bring this to the marketplace. We're first in market. So, folks like Joey and his team are starting to lean in, and we're open for business. So happy to talk more about any of that with folks in the audience today, or you can always hit me on social. All right. Thanks, everybody. That's what we have for y'all today. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.